Let's build off Porzingis as kind of a jumping off point with that, because he is, again, 2-game sample size, but he had, statistically speaking, at least in the points category, he had the best debut of anyone in Celtics history. No one had ever scored 30 points in his first game as a member of the Celtics, and as Ev said, C's needed every last one of them, including that huge three-pointer, obviously, in the final moments of that game to really cement the win. Through these 2 games, he's played 34 minutes per. He's averaging about 24 points, 8.5 rebounds. He's getting a couple steals, blocking about 3 shots, as significant as anything, obviously, outside of protecting the rim and playing very solid defense and the fluidity of the offense that can move around him and what he can do in terms of spacing and all of that. He's shooting about 52% from the field, 47% from 3, 86% from the free throw line. I know we're talking about 2 games, but obviously the lines that I have read off, very, very strong to start. And part of the reason, Seth, that you are here is that you are someone who, at the time of the acquisition, were not overly enthusiastic about it. And it wasn't even just the, I don't want to get rid of Marcus Smart, I love Marcus, all of that, like a lot of fans felt, didn't want to see Smart go. It was the, I don't like this ad. I don't, like, if you're going to trade Smart, you're going to trade Smart. I don't specifically like acquiring Kristaps Porzingis. So now that you've seen him for a couple of games, real games, never mind the preseason, who cares about that? Real games, what have you thought?
So on the positive side, this team desperately needs people who catch the ball and immediately do something with it. And I think he's had a lot of success. Like his ability to stretch the floor beyond the 3-point line. I think the big shot down the stretch against New York that you mentioned is a really good example of this. He's positioned a couple feet beyond the 3-point line on that one. He catches the ball and it goes up immediately. There's no like hemming and hawing about like whether it's a good shot. He doesn't wait for the closeout. He knows his job is to like catch the ball and shoot the open shot. And while I'd like everybody on the team to be making really quick decisions around like passing and moving the ball, I think that, you know, when in trading in getting rid of guys like Smart, Grant Williams, and even Rob to a certain degree, and adding Drew and Kristaps, you're adding you've gotten rid of 3 like what I would consider to be plus passers, and added like a decent passer for a guard, but not. I don't think Drew is like above average as a passer for a guard, and I would say Kristaps is actually kind of a negative as a passer, and so. I've been worried about the collective passing of the team, but I think I did underrate a little bit his ability. Like just this, like the stretching the floor just adds like a quick decision that can be made. They can just like chuck it out to him and he's ready to jack it up and nobody can bother his shot. So that's been really good.
The CLNS Media Network is powered by FanDuel. Sign up at FanDuel.com/Boston. And get in on the action with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose.
The other thing that's sort of, you know, I thought that if he was healthy, he would do a good job protecting the rim. I think we've seen that in his career. I think when he struggled in that role in Dallas, he was often hurt. So I think he's really good protecting the rim. It has been interesting in the early going this year how the game that he had against Bam Adebayo, where Bam kind of was able to do whatever he wanted on offense against Porzingis, and they really kind of won the game down the stretch with Horford coming in for Porzingis. I thought that sort of began to expose some of the weakness. Like while he's a great rim protector, he brings weaknesses that this team has traditionally avoided. The Celtics have really tried to avoid having any of those weaknesses. So they're having some problems with defensive rebounding now. They're having some problem. They're still not forcing turnovers. Some of those things I think are things we'll need to keep an eye on as the season goes on, as they learn how to play defense around this different type of player.
It's safe to say you've enjoyed the KP experience, though?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, the offensive spacing you get with a guy that can really knock down threes at that kind of clip from that kind of range is just going to be hilarious to watch. I mean, I did a little mini lap a victory lap after the first game when the last couple of minutes of the game boiled down to Tatum KP 2-man game. And I'm like, this is what I've been trying to tell people for a while. Like, I think Porzingis is brought in to be a little bit more helpful in the crunch time offense at the end of games. Like, instead of it being Jalen and Jason, you know, the KP adds a way different wrinkle to this. And I think Jalen, you know, if you go back to that game-winning shot, basically, that Kristaps hit, like, he's wide open in the corner. He's one pass away if we need to go that far. But at the same time, like, Porzingis is 7'4", and he's probably going to shoot over a guy that's much smaller than him if he's going to try and attack that closeout. And he's a good enough shooter to where, like, that's just a really devastating play. And so how they play off of that as the season progresses is going to be interesting to me. And I think it's just going to be devastating for a lot of teams to handle. Now, Miami is uniquely equipped maybe to handle something like that with the way Bam can guard in space. But not too many teams are going to be able to handle that particular pick and roll or pick and pop option. So the KP experience, the blocks, the defense interior, like that's been a big plus to me. I didn't expect them to be that dominant. And to make their defense look way different. Like the Celtics lead the league in blocks per game with 8.5, which is pretty outrageous considering. Like, I know it's 2 games, but still it's
without Rob Williams.
Yeah, without Rob, they're allowing like the least amount of points per game inside the paint so far this year. Like, that's, and then they have, never mind that, they have 2 unbelievable defensive guards, and Tatum's a plus defender in my opinion. So they really have like just a really interesting core of guys defensively. If Kristaps is going to hold up inside the way he has in that one game against the Knicks, like that's going to be really, really interesting because maybe I sold this team short defensively is all I'll say. Like we laud Derek White and Drew Holiday for very good reason. But if Kristaps is going to hold up inside like that, that's a whole different wrinkle that this team defensively hasn't had just because Rob has never really been healthy. And we only saw Rob unlocked that year as like a rover. This is a little bit different than that. So I'm really curious to see how that progresses.
With the busy fall season already in swing, you might be looking for wholesome, convenient meals for jam-packed days. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, can help you fuel up fast with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. Head to factormeals.com/newsfeed50 and use code newsfeed50 to get 50% off. That's code newsfeed50 at factormeals.com/newsfeed50 to get 50% off.